Good evening, everyone. Pauses, assuming there is anyone to greet out there. And welcome to this meeting of Wokingham Borough Council's Executive. My name is Stephen Conway. I'm the leader of the Council and Executive Member for Housing, Partnerships and the Local Plan, and I'll be chairing this evening's meeting. I'm just going to go through a few housekeeping rules. Please ensure that any mobile devices or mobile phones are switched off. If you're participating via Teams, when you're not speaking, please mute your microphone. Please also note the meeting is currently being webcast live. There are no fire drills planned this evening, so if the fire alarm does sound, please leave the building via the nearest exit and gather at muster point 2, which is located in the car park at the rear of the building. Now, before I ask the members of the executive sitting around the table with me to introduce themselves, I'm going to introduce the officers who are present. Online, we have Matt Pope, who's the Executive Director for Adults, Children's and Public Health. And I think that's Emma Cockrell, who's Executive Member for Children's, is Director for Children's Services. I described Matt as Executive Member. He's Executive Director for Adults, Children's and Public Health. Emma is the Director of Children's Services. We're also joined online this evening by Prue Bray, who is a member of the Executive. She's not very well, so she's very nobly joining us online. That means that Prue, while she can participate, she can't actually vote on anything. Well, there's only one item for us to determine this evening, but she won't be able to vote on that. In the room with us, and the officers sitting behind me, we have Madeline Shopland from Democratic Services. We have Susan Parsonage, who's the Chief Executive of the Council. We have Andrew Moulton, who's the Monitoring Officer and Assistant Director of Governance. And we have Graham Ebers, just arrived in the nick of time. And Graham is the Council's Deputy Chief Executive and Chief Finance Officer. So I'm going to ask executive members to introduce themselves. And this time, I'm going to start at David's end.
Hello, I'm David Hare. I'm Executive Member for Adult Services, Health and Wellbeing.
Good evening, I'm Rachel Bishop-Firth and I'm the Executive Member for Resident Services, Inclusion and Fighting Poverty.
Hello everybody, my name is Martin Alder. I'm the Executive Member for Planning and Enforcement.
Good evening, I'm Imogen Shepherd-Bay. I'm the Executive Member for Finance and Government.
Hi, I'm Lou Timlin, the Executive Member for Community Safety and Public Protection.
Hello, I'm Adrian Betteridge. I'm the Executive Member for Active Travel, Transport and Highways.
Good evening, I'm Mark Ashwell. I'm Executive Member for Economic Development, Sport, Leisure and the Arts.
So the titles steadily get longer as we go around the table, by the look of it. Okay, thank you, colleagues. That brings me on to apologies, our first substantive item. And the only apology we have is from Catherine Harding, who's unable to be with us this evening. As I've said earlier, Prue, the Deputy Leader and Executive Member for Children's Services, is online. And it's good to see you, Prue. Thank you for joining us online. Does anyone have a declaration of interest in any items on this evening's agenda? There is only one substantive item. Was that an indication you had a declaration?
No, there's only one item, sorry.
You were indicating there's only one item, not indicating you had a declaration of interest. Good. Are there any public questions, Madeline? No? So there are no public questions. Are there any councillor questions? No? And there are no parish or town council questions. So we are without questions this evening, so we can move straight on to item 67, which is Thames Valley Devolution Expression of Interest, which you can find on pages 5 to 16 of your agenda. The officer report supports this item, and I'm going to be introducing it. This matter was debated at last week's full council, so I don't propose to repeat the arguments about the considerable investment opportunities open to us if we agree to form a Thames Valley mayoral strategic authority. I should note, however, that last week's council meeting did not unanimously endorse the submission of a non-binding expression of interest. It received support from the Liberal Democrat and Labour groups and from the 2 independent councillors, but not from the Conservative opposition. That puts Wokingham's Conservatives at odds with the Conservative groups across the other Berkshire councils, as they all supported the submission of an expression of interest. Our Conservatives, and our Conservatives alone, opposed it, and their grounds, I think, are worth our considering. Their grounds were that they feared a loss of local power, a migration upwards of council functions to a new mayoral strategic authority. Now, I need to address that argument head on, as it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding. The purpose of establishing mayoral strategic authorities is not to encroach on council's powers, but to devolve decision-making downwards from a national level to a regional one. The clue is in the name attached to the process of establishing mayoral strategic authorities, devolution. To be absolutely clear, a mayoral strategic authority will exercise at a regional level powers that the government currently exercises at a national level. Far from losing power, I think we could argue that Wokingham Borough Council will gain it. We, along with all the other constituent councils of a new Thames Valley a mayoral strategic authority, would have a place in the cabinet with and through which a mayor would work. We, in other words, would have a voice over regional decisions, in contrast to now, when we have no say on national decisions affecting our region. I think I should also draw your attention to section 10 of the report on page 10 of your agenda. And it's in particular 10.1 I want to draw your attention to, which refers to the fact that the government is going to be legislating for a ministerial directive, which will enable it to have, will enable it directly to create strategic authorities in places where local leaders in that region have not been able to agree how to access devolved powers. And as the report says, therefore, the do-nothing option could mean government directing what happens in our area. That's all I wanted to say in relation to this item. Does anyone want to add anything or ask any questions?
May I make an observation, Stephen?
Yes, please do, Prue.
I just find it absolutely amazing that given that they voted against this, that the Conservatives have not even asked a single question about it at this meeting or made any points whatsoever. Nothing. And I think that is really very regrettable.
Well, obviously, it is up to them what they choose to do in relation to asking questions. But I think I didn't want to make a political point. My aim was to clarify why I believe the argument that was being deployed is mistaken. And I think it's important to correct that mistake. And I've sought to do that in what I've said. So on the basis of what we heard at the debate last week in the council chamber, and what we've got in the report in front of us and what I emphasised in my introduction, if there are no other comments, can we move to page 5 of the agenda where we've got the recommended actions. Now, because these are actually a bit detailed, I'm afraid I'm going to have to read them out. I don't think this is going to delay us a very long time, but it is important that we're clear on what we're voting. So the first recommendation is that we endorse the benefits from the proposed devolution of powers and functions set out in the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill, which is making its way through the legislative process at the moment. Second, that we approve the joint expression of interest attached at Appendix 1 to be submitted to the Secretary of State, noting that the expression of interest is designed to proactively position our region for early consideration in the next wave of the devolution programme. Thirdly, to acknowledge the expression of interest as an invitation to government to open dialogue and engagement with the region regarding the potential form and operation of a strategic mayoral authority, and not a decision to establish such a strategic authority. Fourthly, agree that further update reports will be brought back to Council and the Executive as necessary, including further detail on the financial implications and prior to any final decision to create a strategic authority. And finally, to note that the informal devolution board, which is described on page 9 of your agenda, will be made up of representatives from all of the different councils in the proposed mayoral strategic authority area, will oversee discussions with government, ensuring robust governance and stakeholder engagement by elected members throughout this process. So, having clarified what the recommendations are, can I ask for those who support them to show that support? And that is unanimous. Thank you very much, colleagues. I think that is our one and only item of business for this meeting, so I can declare the meeting now closed. Thank you.